It was about 10 years ago, and life had settled down for me, and I was really happy. But I had one problem, that I was really very, very busy, and I never had enough time for my own interests and my own pursuits. So my wife, knowing this one night, she said, I was coming home and I saw a new sign on a building not far from here, and it said, we have meetings on Thursdays. I didn't see what it was all about, but I saw some of the people, they looked kind of quirky. Are you interested in going? I said, quirky people, huh? They sound like more like kind of your kind of folk, and maybe you should. And before I finished my sentence, she was out the door. Well, my wife, she was the president of the local Wild and Crazy Person Society. She kind of explained why she was out real quickly to look for a new experience. But 4 hours later, she finally came home and she was ecstatic. Turns out that group was a UFO group, and she signed up right on the spot. The leaders of the group could sense that there was something special about her, so she said that I was talking to the director one minute, and then the next minute, I just kind of blanked out. And when I came to and I opened my eyes, there I was sitting up on this dais, and there were like a couple of dozen people staring up at me in rapt attention, listening to what I had to say. And then I said, well, what did you say? And she said, well, I don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, my body was there, but I wasn't there. And I said, huh? And she said, yeah. So I was there. I said, what's going on? Finally, somebody in the audience said, Shabazz. So I asked, and they said, Shabazz was this really famous alien who was known for giving advice to world beings, and the person who had been acting as the channeler or the medium had just passed away, and now it looks like I am the new channeler receiving messages from Shabazz. She was ecstatic, and I was very proud of her too, because before long she was heading up seminars, she was leading UFO conferences, and essentially she was just like a highly sought after intermediary in the realm of raising planetary consciousness. This Shabazz is kind of like a Stephen Hawking, Carl Sagan, and a Dr. Ruth, all rolled up in It was a few weeks later, and it was in the middle of the night. I got up to use the restroom, and when I came back, my wife was sitting up in bed saying odd things in a strange sounding foreign voice. I couldn't really make out too much. It lasted for a few more seconds, and then she went back down, went to sleep. Oh, but my mind was racing. I did not get back to sleep. I had to figure out what was going on, but I couldn't come up with a conclusion. So I came up with a plan. I was going to go to bed when she did. I was going to pretend to fall asleep, but I was going to stay awake so I could kind of eavesdrop on what was going on. Well, I didn't have to wait long. The next night, right after midnight, she sat up in bed and, I've been thinking of you all day long. I've been wondering what it's like to finally meet you in the flesh. Wouldn't it be nice if you and I could slip together and go to a planet and have it all to ourselves? It was Shabazz. He was taking advantage of my wife while she was asleep and unconscious. And oh gosh, my mind was racing. Well, now I finally could tell what was going on, but I didn't have an idea. So I decided to continue my plan so I could eavesdrop some more. And then after a couple of weeks, it came to me. Now, a few years ago, I told the story. Maybe a couple of people in this room might remember a story about my kids. When they were in preschool, they came up with a new invention called collapsible portable holes. Well, I won't get into that, but I can say this story took place like 2 or 3 years after that. So now they were both in grade school, so they updated the invention a little bit. They utilized some quantum physics, so they could change the portable collapsible holes into a portal that you could go through and bypass time and space. Okay. Now, I don't really understand any of that, and I wanted to kind of know. So I went to the kids to ask them if they could explain to me. They just rolled their eyes and laughed and said, oh, Dad, don't be silly. You don't have any business trying to understand any of that stuff. Just leave it to us. Make sure we're there to help you get to where you're going and to help you get back. We've got you covered. So I never did learn exactly how it worked, but I did learn where I was going to go eventually. Because one of the nights that I was eavesdropping, Shabazz, he was totally wasted. And he would not shut up. But one of the things I found out was pretty useful. I learned what planet he was from, and I learned the name of his favorite hangout, the Hairy Nebula. Turns out every time he was channeling through my wife and he was drunk, that's where he was. So the next night, sure enough, my wife sat up in bed and she started channeling a drunk Shabazz. So I tiptoed across the hallway to wake up the kids as planned. And they came over, and since I had mapped out, I figured out where the planet was located in the map of the galaxy. I got coordinates for it. I gave the coordinates to the kids. They plugged those numbers into the new improved interstellar portable collapsible hole. I grabbed my bat. I stepped into the portal, and off I went to the Hairy Nebula. In the blink of an eye, I was in a new dimension, and I could not believe my eyes. When I suddenly appeared at this bar, the entire atmosphere changed. Everybody stopped what they were doing and they stared right at me. Everybody except the lone, pathetic individual sitting at a booth, babbling to himself, "I'm going to weave my tentacles through your luscious hair." Shabazz, he was so drunk, he hadn't even noticed my sudden appearance. And I couldn't believe what I saw. He wasn't at all what I expected. He was like 2 feet tall. He had like a dozen short, stubby legs, wearing basketball sneaker type shoes. He had wavy tentacles for arms, and he had 2 tiny little hairless heads that looked just like an angry bee Arthur. Before coming here, I just had this idea of what this imposing intergalactic Don Juan would look like. And I thought it would take every ounce of muscle and testosterone just to kind of dominate him. But when I pulled back the curtain, all that anger just washed away and it was replaced with pity. But I still was miffed, and I thought that maybe I should get even with him for a little bit. So I threw down my bat and I said, "Hey, Shabazz, my wife's got something for you." Well, that got his attention. He looked up, he saw me, and even though he was drunk, he knew what was going on. So he just kind of fumbled out of the booth and he awkwardly waddled down the hallway to get away from me as quickly as he could. That's when I did something that I will never be able to do the rest of my life. Because in this dimension, you could create something just by using thought. So I thought of a kind of like a mannequin dummy of my wife, and then poof, it appeared out of the blue, right in the middle of the hallway, and he ran smack dab into it. But since I had never like done this, creating something out of the clear blue like that before, I didn't really do all that good of a job. It kind of looked like an adult-sized Cabbage Patch doll with like tons and tons of hair, and it kind of had the texture of a sock monkey. But Shabazz, he didn't care. He was drunk. He was convinced. He was like, one minute he was really frightened of me, and the next minute he was over the top in love with this doll. And so as I'm stepping back into the portal to come back home, I glance over there, and Shabazz was already, half of his legs were tangled up in her hair, and he was upside down, and he said, "This is a dream come true. You are mine forever, mine." But anyway, the kids got me back home safely, and ever since that night, my wife has never had an encounter with Shabazz. I don't know if he was afraid of me, or he forgot, or he just gave up. I don't know. But obviously, it was a good thing that I showed that alien a thing or two. And that is my... So you think you're very clever, humiliating me like that? Now that I've found my way here, I believe I'm going to make your life, shall we say, a little more uncomfortable. I'm in you now, boy. I'm going to study up on you and When I find out some of the skeletons in your closet, I think I will be sharing them with everyone whenever I come for one of my many little visits. Now, go along now. See you later. Go, go, go. Everything okay? Am I finished?